Hi, this is Jason Fielder with the Daily Forex Report for October 27th. Let's take a look at the US Japanese yen pair. I'm expecting this pair to move between 95.13 on the high side. On the low side, I'm looking for 91.02. Look for some resistance to come into this market around the 94.50 area. And support, we're going to be looking for support to come in the market around 92.00. Now, we have an inside bar created. This was Friday's session, and it went way down and then gapped down on the open, but Monday did close a little bit higher, creating an inside bar. It closed down for the day, but it closed lower than our high from Friday, and the low was higher than our low from Friday. So we have an inside bar. What I'm looking for on this particular pair is for it to break this low by probably 4 pips, and I'm going to look for a 100 pip move beyond that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for today for this particular pair. Now we got a few others that we're going to take a look at, similar situation, similar setup, and going to look for a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio for that particular trade. Now the Euro USD, I'm looking for this session to move between 1.2762 on the high side, and on the lower side 1.2223 for this particular pair. Now look for some resistance to come into this market around the 1.2700 level, and as far as support goes, we're going to look for support around the 1.2350 level. So definitely keep an eye on those levels for the market to bounce off of those levels. Not really looking for anything on the euro during this next session. This particular pair, of course, is moving down. The bias is to the downside, so it wouldn't surprise me if it continues lower. Now we're looking at the pound, the US, the pound US dollar pair. This pair, I'm looking for it to move between 59.67 on the high side. On the low side, I'm looking for 151.26 for this particular pair. Now as far as resistance goes, look for some resistance around the 158.75 area for this pair. And as far as support goes, look for some support around the 152.75 area for this pair. Now this is another pair that I'm looking at for this next session. As you can see, it created an inside bar as well, just barely. The low is Friday's low is lower than Monday's session. So what I'm going to do here, same deal, same situation. I'm going to look for a break of about 4 pips below that and look for it to move roughly 100 pips down from that area using a 100 pip stop loss. Looking for basically the breakout to the downside for this particular pair. Let's take a look at the Swiss. The US Swiss pair, having a little issues with the chart today. It's not wanting to switch for me. There we go. Sorry about that. Now let's take a look at this particular pair. I'm expecting this pair to move between on the very high side 117.91 and on the lower side 114.48. Now look for some resistance to come into this particular market, into this particular pair around 116.30. And as far as support, look for some support around the 115.10 level. Excuse me. Now, if you notice, this pair as well created an inside bar. We have Friday's session here. We have a high of Friday, and we have the low for Friday. If we get a break to the downside, I doubt we'll get a break to the upside. That'd be a pretty large move. But if we get a break to the downside, looking for this to break this low, most likely I'll look for it to break this low as well prior to entering the market, because they're fairly close together. A break of this low we should see, if you notice this bar moved pretty quick up, we should see the same situation. If we get a break to the downside below this session's level low, the low level, then we should see it move down fairly quick back into this range that we had during that time. Don't know if that'll happen. This pair is, the bias is to the upside. I believe it's moving higher overall, so we may not get that move, but that's another inside bar play that I'm looking at. Now, we had the U.S. new home sales for September that were released. They were better than expected at 464K from 452K, helping the U.S. dollar. Now, the U.S. has their FOMC meeting going on tomorrow. We also have the U.S. consumer confidence for October being released at 10 a.m. The consensus is that it's dropped from 59.8 to 53. This particular news announcement typically doesn't move the market all that much, but if it's way out of the range, the normal range, at that point we could see it move the dollar pairs. So you may want to look at the market during that time, right before it, and see if we get some movement out of it, possible trades. Well, until tomorrow, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.